Hey there, this is Jacob with SurvivalGeek. Today I'm at my workbench and I wanted to go over electric fly swatters. I see a lot of mods that people do online where you try to modify them and make them stronger. I had a experience last summer to where I was in a park walking across the ground. I had a stroller in front of me and I accidentally stepped on a yellow jacket nest. Yellow jackets are these little bitty yellow bees. They actually bite versus stinging. I think they sting as well, but I know they bite, and it's not fun when you have a swarm chasing you and you're trying to push young children away and they're biting the crap out of you at the same time. So I saw these at the store, and they're meant for flies, but they don't really have enough juice, oomph. There's not enough oomph running through them to actually do anything. So I mean, they work on flies to a degree, but the fly really just hits it and bounces off, or it might kill it, or you might have to hold it down over the actual thing for a while. Certain things like spiders or roaches or other things, you can hold the screen down on the target, let it crawl onto it, and then just hold the button down while it's sitting there, shocking and killing it until it dies, and starts smoking or whatever. That's all possible, but I really wanted to give it more power to where I can kill a hornet or a yellow jacket or a wasp or a bee or something of that nature that's trying to attack me, or a younger child or something like that, and I have something of defense to where I can, like one of these things. They're not meant to hit and actually strike. It's more meant to catch it while it's in the air. So you're wanting it to fly into the actual screen. So how do we make them more powerful? How do they work in the first place? So we take one of these. Let's go over a few of the types first that they sell in the stores. The most primary type was this one. Harbor Freight had it for a while. Walmart had it for a while, and so the older type used D batteries. As you can see in here, I have two Sunbeam heavy-duty D batteries inside. Okay, they each generate 1.5 volts. So had the two of these. It's nice. It works well. Not as well as it could work. It could work a lot better. So they have these. Now the ones that they sell in the markets, they got rid of the ones with the D cells, and now the ones use double A's instead. And the ones they're using are two 1.5 volt double A's. So you're really getting the same energy content coming out of it either way. So this one has, as you can see inside, get the light on here. There we go. I have two Sunbeam alkaline batteries in here. Headlamp on. And they're each 1.5 volt, and they generate 3 volts just like the D's do. So, but how it actually works, getting it to the charge where it needs to get to and release and everything, is a different story altogether. The third one, and let me grab that one real fast. This one you'll see going for a lot more money. Notice it doesn't have the screens like you would normally see. See, this one has screens. It has 3 screens. The center screen is positive. The outer 2 screens are negative. So it doesn't generate an arc like you would like a stun gun. You hit a stun gun and it creates an arc. It ignites the oxygen in between the 2 probes, giving you that arc. With the 2 neutral screens on the outsides, the negative screens, we're talking about the actual metal screens here. So there's one on the inside and one on the outside here. So 1, 2, 3. So it's negative, positive in the center, and then negative. The 2 negatives don't let the arc form. So once you hold the button down for a second or so, well, let me get to that and show you how that works. These, there's just one all the way across. If you swing this at flies, smaller type objects, it's good and it's bad. Smaller type objects, especially moths and such, just fly right on through them. So it's like you're swinging back and forth. You're hitting it every time, but it's not actually touching and coming in contact with these, so it's not working too well. Bigger things such as spiders and other types of objects, it would work well on, but these are $10 to $20 on Amazon, or they're $1 to $2 on AliExpress for the exact same thing. So I'm sure the guy on Amazon is probably drop shipping from AliExpress. but they're all easy to modify. So let's get into the modification side. If I take this one here, it had the 2 AA's inside of it, and I take out the screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 right back here in the back. If I take all these out, you eject the batteries and everything. I have another one over here I stripped down already to get to. I take them out, and this is the bottom part. It'll have a circuit board. The circuit board is flipped over on the inside, so it's actually here when you see it. And there's a little bitty screw right here. I took the screw out already and then put the screw back inside so I don't lose it. But you'll come out and you'll see this circuit board. And as you can see, coming out on one side of the circuit board, I have the these go on the battery bay. And then I have a button here attached to it. Okay, push the button, click, click, click. Then I have an LED light, and then I have 3 in particular pieces here. The center one, this is called a step-up booster, or a jewel thief converter. Jewel thief converters are what allow us to take 2 AA's and power something larger. There are plenty of videos where a lot of amateur small voltage geeks and whatnot, I don't say geek in a bad term, I say it in a good term, someone that really likes that type of stuff, they really go in detail and show you how these work. Step-up transformers, step-up boosters, step-up generators, they're all the same thing. This one converts the 3 volts coming off of the 2 AA's into it's able to charge the capacitor here that's in the front extremely fast. The capacitor is rated at, this is where this gets important, the capacitor is rated at 310 volts at 0.33 microfarads. Lowercase u, capital F. So, I don't know if I can get any light on that so you guys can actually see that. There we go. So there's our capacitor. So so 2 main ways people modify these to make them stronger. They either buy a step-up booster that's a lot more powerful than this guy, and they scrap this whole board completely and just use the step-up booster. And that's possible. They look just like this. So you're buying a step-up booster. They use 18650 batteries. Okay, any old laptops you have lying around, you can actually take the laptop battery itself and strip the thing open and tear off all the probes attached to it on the outside of the battery, and you'll find anywhere from 4 to 10 of these inside of an old battery pack, and they're 18650 batteries, and they're fine. You can recharge them and use them again and again. So great for flashlights and whatnot to use them. But you get one of these, you get one of these devices. It's a battery holder, so it's got a negative end and a positive end. And then you also get one of these buttons. Okay. And then you can look at the mods that people have on the site there where they're modifying these. The positive runs into one of the probes in the button. It doesn't matter which probe. One runs into one of the terminals, the probes here on the back. Terminal probe, I'm sorry if I'm miscommunicating the terminology correctly. Runs into one of these, and then you have a one of the, so you have multiple leads coming off the jewel thief converter. There we go. So you would have obviously your positive coming off of the other lead. So positive goes to one lead, positive comes off the other lead. Your negative would attach to your other side from the back of your battery pack to here. Solder them together. Plenty of videos out there on teaching you how to solder things. You don't have to spend a lot of money on this to get things going. This is one method of doing it. But what this does is when you do this method, you hold the button down, it converts that 3 volts to whatever voltage it is of the step-up booster, at a constant rate, and it only works as long as you hold the button down. As soon as you release the button, it's no longer delivering that voltage anymore, like you would have had with the original system. The original system, how it works, its step-up booster charges up the capacitor on the very front here. The capacitor is set to 310 volts. After about a few milliseconds, half a second, I'm not sure the exact time, it's extremely fast, but it takes the 3 volts and 3 volts, 3 volts, 3 volts, 3 volts, 3 volts. So I think it's like the speed of light. It moves really fast. It charges up this. Once it hits 310 volts, this doesn't take any more voltage. The battery's full. It's like a small battery, and then it dissipates at the microfarad level that you had on the front of it, whatever the rating is. So when you're upgrading capacitors, you want to keep the same voltage or go higher. You don't want to go lower. So what I did is I found some film capacitors, photo capacitors. These are 400 volts, and at I have 2 different versions here. These are CBB 400 volts, 105Js, which is just over 1 farad. I believe 1 farad, or 1.0 microfarads. Just over, it's like 1.0 to 110, somewhere in there. And then you have these other ones here, which are CBB 22s, 125J 400 volts. Also a 400 volt capacitor, except it's closer to 1.5 farads or 1.5, 1.5 farads. So, in essence, if I divide the 0.33 off of the original capacitor here into the number I have on here, it shows me how many times more stronger it is, the capacitor is dissipating coming off. Plus it's 400 volts instead of 310 volts. So with this, I can use the original. I can just take off the old one, the old capacitor, and then add one of these instead. And when I add them with the lettering. I add them with the lettering on the capacitor. You'll see one side has lettering and the other side doesn't. Get a light on here for you. One side there's lettering, text, lettering, see? And one side doesn't. The lettering I had facing forward towards the screens when they're actually stuck inside. Going inside your board again. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Walmart or so and buy yourself a soldering iron if you don't already have one. You can find these there. This is their Hyper Tough brand. Let's see, this one's a 30 watt, 120 volt, 30 watt soldering iron. It's very, very basic. You do not need an expensive one. I think I paid like $5 or $6 for this. This works just fine. I think it comes with like 1 or 2 tips. I think this one comes with 1 tip. Perfectly fine for what it is. You're going to let this heat up for about 10 minutes. You're going to take the tip, and we're going to go into pretend land here, like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We're going to pretend that this probe here is my soldering iron, so I'm not having to heat up my soldering iron to show you this. You're going to take you have your capacitor here, and it's got 2 terminals on the ends, just like these have 2, 1 and 2. That actually go through the circuit board, and you can see them there on the bottom. They're here and they're here. So I'm going to take my soldering iron. I'm going to pretend this is my soldering iron. I'm going to touch here. I don't want to be holding the iron. I want to be holding the plastic part. The red plastic part here I'll be holding because the rest of it should be super hot. I want to touch it here. It's going to heat up the dried solder that's on there. Once it's heated up enough, I can begin to wiggle this loose and take it off. Well, I have to have a third hand for that, don't I? Well, you can step up and buy one of these, or you can do what I do, and this is a makeshift version. I use this if I'm replacing the tips on USB cables that break off. So what this is a 1x1, okay, 1 inch by 1 inch. You buy these for cheap or get them at scrap. A lot of times I'll have them at scrap at different places, Lowe's, Home Depot, whatnot. Get you a short piece of it. These are alligator clips, and I open up with a pair of pliers. I open up the end of the alligator clip, and then I can screw a screw straight into the wood. And then I did 3. I did 1, 2, and 3, 2 right beside each other. I put electrical tape around the end here, and I put the electrical tape around the center of the jaws on both sides. So when I actually clipped down, it didn't actually dig into my cable and destroy anything, whatever it was biting into. But this can actually hold your circuit board for you, so you don't have to hold your circuit board as you're applying your soldering iron here to take this off. Okay, it's just a makeshift one if you don't want to go spend money on one. I had a different one on a different side. I was mixing them around for different purposes, but for instance, you're soldering something in your car and you needed something makeshift real quick to do and get inside to hold things together. This lets me hold my wire and keep it straight, and then I can attach 2 wires from here. If you're attaching 2 wires together, you want to do one here, one a little bit farther away, and then the same thing on the other side, one here, one a little bit farther away. So you can hold your wire straight. It's not wiggling with 2 clips. Hold your wire straight on this side, 2 clips, and then join your wires together, and then add your solder and go from there. But this is very, very cheap to make. It's not, I mean, we're talking a few dollars here. I think the hardest part was just getting a pair of needle nose pliers and opening up these back ends here, which wasn't really hard at all. Just tweaking them a bit so they go flat, and then pressing them down real hard so this presses out and goes flat like a pancake. Then I took like an awl or a file or whatever, and I pushed through the back side of the clip here and made a small hole and drilled through that hole with the screws. Any type of screw will work. And then these are actually movable now. I can move them in different directions or whatnot, but as you can see, I was attaching see how small those pads are for soldering, and that's a brand new micro SD, I believe it is, clip, and I was attaching it because it had bent and broke off the cable, so I was attaching a new one, but I needed something to hold it in place. Anyway, so I get back to the fly swatter here. But you can make one of these on your own if you need something to help you hold on to the circuit board. So touch your probe on each side, and you'll be wiggling from the other side, and eventually this will just pop right off. It'll just come off, or it'll come off one side, and you'll do the other side. You'll put soldering iron on the other piece of solidified solder. It'll heat up, and it'll start to drip away. So you may want to have some cardboard or something down here for it to drip on, or a paper plate or whatnot, so it doesn't damage anything, and it'll drip on that instead. It's not going to cause any fire or anything like that. I wouldn't worry about that. Pull this off, so this is gone, and then you're going to be adding this in place instead. So you'll notice there'll be 2 holes here now. They'll be free, they'll be empty, 2 different holes. And then you'll take this, you'll stick it through the holes. Once it's through the holes, you'll take the ends here and bend them sideways, each one, so now it's held in place. Now it's not going anywhere. Now you can add some solder to each solder, the L is silent. You can add some solder to here to hold these in place, and then you can come back with wire clippers and trim these off. Get them as low as possible, but onto the circuit board, the capacitor, but leave a little bit of space because you may need to bend this forward or down when you're putting it back inside of your fly swatter piece again. So I think my next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade these from 400 volt to possibly 600 volt or 800 volt. See where I go from there. Go from maybe 2 farad instead of 1.5 farad. See what happens with that. But that's the other way. Now, if this is all still too hard for you, somebody on eBay I came across decided to say, well, people are making these and they're selling these, which these are cheap, by the way. You could get these on AliExpress for like $5 or whatever. The buttons, don't buy them. If you're going to get the button, if you're going to get the button to use, don't buy them one at a time. They sell them in 5-packs for like literally $2 or $3. You just have to search for them on AliExpress from different vendors. But if you look on eBay, you'll come across these. Somebody had the ingenious idea and said, why don't we just make a completely new circuit board altogether? Look at that capacitor. They put a really powerful capacitor and a really powerful step-up booster. I forget what the rating is, but it's similar to one of these here. And they put a really strong capacitor on it as well. So now this is actually set up to where you can wire right back inside. And now I know one of you guys are probably noticing, well, this side has two pieces on it, and it's got these clips on there. Well, the clips are just gonna remove and re-solder onto your other ones. And what they're doing is they're just see how there's a spring here and no spring there, and then there's two spots here. Those spots there allow you to take this, put one there, and one there. See? Just like that. Now, if you're adding this, you're going to come back inside here with a Dremel tool and you're going to hollow this whole piece out. Remove all this to make space for that. Yeah, they just pop out. Now, on the front, you're probably noticing, well, wait a minute. There's 3 wires. But on this, or the step-up booster, there's only 2 wires. Well, that's simple to overcome. You're just going to cut into one of the wires and add a second wire onto it, or try to add it into the either the circuit board itself. Like I could go to the back of the circuit board and I could add a secondary wire, so I would have 2 negatives and 1 positive, depending on which side's positive and which side's negative. And what I mean by that is, so let's just say hypothetically that my white is going to be negative and my blue is going to be positive. And I needed a second white wire. I could add the white wire here. Get some light here. I could add the white wire here on the solder point, add some more solder to it, and of course strip back some of the wiring. So I add another piece of wire to it. Now I'd have 2 pieces of wire coming off on one side and 1 piece of wire coming off the other side, which would give you what you would need to hook up the wire to the screens or whatnot. And I could probably just clip off the wires off the original board and use those wires and retack them on here, however you wanted to go that route. But this is the upgraded version of this. But you notice there's no button on here, so to use this, you would have to put one of these in play. You can see we've made some interesting enhancements, and I'll get closer on this for some of you guys that are a bit more technically advanced than I am and just want to kind of depict and say, well, that's that, and that's this, and this is that, and that's this, and this is that. I'm a computer nerd, but I don't really do electronic stuff too much. Let me get more light on this for you. Sorry. There we go. And this was only $5 or $10 on eBay. If you're looking for step-up boosters, I'm sure you'll come across it. Oh, what's this say on there? This says CBB81. CBB81, and this is at 2,000 volts, and it's a 223J. Wow, 2,000 volts versus mine, which were only 400 volts. So yeah, maybe I can go 1,000 volt and see what I can do. I'm not trying to blow anything up here. When I come in contact with a bee or a hornet or a yellow jacket, I want that thing to die on contact. Okay, if I can buy a stun gun that uses a 9-volt battery to where I can shock somebody with for defensive purposes, and the person goes down or feels enough pain to where they back off, from a 9-volt battery, I should be able to modify this thing to do something similar to a I don't want the bee to just fall on the ground and get back up and sting me again because he's ticked off. I want him to die on contact, and I'm not having to hold the screen over him while he's trying to die and his 35 buddies are stinging me out in my back. So, yeah. To each his own. So, that's for this video. I just wanted to show that for you guys and show you how you guys could modify your own. Leave the original step-up booster in place, because for the 2 batteries to charge this capacitor that's already there, or the new capacitor you add, you're going to hold the button down on the side. So there's a button here. You're going to hold the button down. You can kind of hear in the background. This button, I hold it there. It's probably even shorter than that, but it already charged the capacitor. The capacitor's charged, and it's still charged. My finger's off the button. If I just put one of these in place, step-up booster, I have to hold the button down the entire time while I'm killing whatever I'm killing, and after it's dead, then I can release my finger. This capacitor's already charged. It's still charged until I actually touch it back again. So I have insulated pliers here. There, boom. I'll do it again. 1 second. See? 1 second. This is upgraded, by the way, with a new capacitor. See, it's been, what, 5 seconds now? 7, 8, 9, we're at 10 seconds now. I'm not holding my finger on the button. There's nothing on the button. And now I'm going to go down to the screen. There, pow. Because the capacitor's still charged. Okay? So that was another thing of mine. Is I didn't want to sit there and hold the button down the entire time when I'm killing something. And half the videos out there were saying, well, put these in. But yeah, you have to hold your button down the whole time as you're doing whatever you're doing. Make note that there's also this little bitty diode resistor, whatnot here. Forgive me for terminology. This is a bleed-off resistor, I believe. And the bleed-off resistor slowly dissipates the electricity that's charged up in the capacitor. So if this is charged and I stick it up in a cabinet somewhere, it's slowly dissipating that down, so if something doesn't fall on it an hour later and start a fire or shock somebody else or whatnot. So also, if you're trying to you don't have the 18650s, and these can be costly to buy them, you have these battery carriers they sell online. The battery carriers will hold 3 AAAs, and you can use these in place. You can actually solder directly onto these with wires coming off of them and put them in place. Here's one that actually has a probe on the front. You see it's spring-loaded. This one has no probe on the front at all. It's just flat, kind of like these batteries would be flat. You can see size comparison and difference. And you're saying, well, that's not going to fit. Well, on one of these fly pliers, it probably fit just fine. You see, especially if I carved out this whole centerpiece here, broke off these inner tabs here, it probably fit just fine without any problems. Yeah, easily. And they make other size ones. For instance, this is a carrier for one 18650, and then 18650 one, 18650 dual. This holds 2 18650s. And these are cheap as well. They don't cost a lot of money. There we go. You can see the inside now. 18650 or equivalent. So yeah, you could probably put double A's or triple A's in there if let's see, would they fit? Double A, no. If I were to put this in there, I would have to put like a screw or something between here and here to bridge the space. That way it would, which is legal by the way, but to bridge the space, or a nut or something in there, so that way it would make contact all the way through. I've seen flashlight mods and other radio mods where they'll take 2 batteries and something like this, and they'll have a battery on one side and a screw on the other, just because you didn't have a second battery, and the unit will still operate. So that's that. Thanks for hanging around with me. I just wanted to get this out of the way and show you guys what you guys could do to modify yours to get them going right. Just upgrade the capacitor, I would say, because that step-up booster is going to charge really anything you're going to put in there for other capacitors-wise. Should, anyways. You might have to hold the button down a little bit longer, like a second, or instead of a quarter of a second, you hold it down for 1 second. So 1 second, a second and a half, you know, to still charge up that capacitor, which is going to go really fast. So, but Joule Thief Converter, that's what you want to research. There are quite a few YouTube videos where some guys do some really good explanations on how they work. And that's really what a step-up booster is. This is a Joule Thief Converter, or a step-up transformer, or a step-up booster.